What's going on YouTube, my anime family, and my comic book community? In today's video, I thought I'd go over one of the most overpowered abilities in Marvel, which is Deadpool's healing factor. And especially with his new movie coming out, I thought this would be something very interesting to discuss. Now, as we know, Marvel has its fair share of heroes that have healing factors. Characters like the Hulk, Lizard, X-23, and of course, arguably the more popular ones outside of Deadpool that have them will be Wolverine and Sabretooth. But however, there are degrees to this, because you have characters like Beast who actually have a low-grade healing factor. But essentially, if you cut off Beast's head, he's done. He's not coming back. But then you have characters like Sabretooth and Wolverine who have extended lifespans and can survive injuries that would kill most human beings. But even with their healing factors, Deadpool still has the strongest healing factor in all of Marvel. And the reason behind is actually, kind of messed up. For those who don't know, Deadpool sought out Weapon X because he was dying of cancer. And how he got his healing factor is actually because of Wolverine. They were able to isolate Wolverine's healing factor and pretty much give it to Deadpool. But it didn't quite heal him and only stopped him from dying, if that makes sense. Because Wolverine's healing factor kind of works like a normal human being's, but just on a way amped up level. Let's look at how a normal person's healing factor works. Let's say me or you are walking down the street and we get shot in the foot. We're just minding our own business and a bullet comes clean out of nowhere and shoots us dead in the foot. And just so everybody out in YouTube land knows, I am not a medical licensed professional. This is just bro science in the very simplistic version that I'm using. You of course go to the hospital unless you don't have insurance. The doctor will remove the bullet, assess the situation, but then as he removes the bullet and he wraps it, new cells and muscle tissue will start replacing the ones that are damaged. Scar tissue eventually grows over and then your bullet wound is completely healed. But as a normal person, you're still going to be able to see that, hey, look, I got shot right there. Now, Wolverine's healing factor does this exact same thing, but there are a couple key major differences. One, of course, is the accelerated rate in which it does it. He can grow back skin and muscle tissue almost instantaneously. The second thing is the severity of the damage. Some things us as humans simply can't heal from. And also, it's the fact that Wolverine's body heals nearly perfectly, meaning that you'll usually never see him walking around with any scars to his injuries unless he was hit with a weapon specifically designed to combat his healing factor. But even with all this, his healing factor has one major weakness, and that's time. Because it does slow down as Wolverine ages, and Wolverine can get sick and actually die. Think about it like this for a normal person. A 90-year-old man is going to heal a lot slower than, say, a 12-year-old boy. And even though Wolverine's healing factor does slow him from aging, it doesn't completely halt it, which is why in Old Man Logan, we eventually see him die of metal poisoning. Because his body got so old and worn down that his healing factor eventually slowed to the point where the metal was killing his cells off faster than his cells could regenerate. So Weapon X took this healing factor from Logan and gave it to Deadpool, but they didn't account for Deadpool's cancer. This in turn caused Deadpool's body to produce cancerous cells instead of healthy cells, basically replacing his sick cells with more sick cells. But this is the reason why his healing factor is stronger than Logan's. It's because his healing factor is already working overtime to keep him from dying. It never gets a break like Logan's healing factor does. Well, I should say not that much of a break, because Logan's body and his healing factor technically is working a lot in order to keep the metal in his body from poisoning him. But it's nowhere near to the degree of Deadpool's, because without his healing factor, he's pretty much already at death's door. And that's why a lot of the times you see Deadpool pretty much regenerate instantly from any injury. And why you see Logan's healing factor is a little bit slower. Also, Wolverine's greatest asset at times is also what keeps his healing factor from working at its full potential, this being his adamantium skeleton. A lot of people think that adamantium and vibranium in Marvel are completely indestructible, but as we've seen from examples in comic books, this is definitely not the case. The two metals are extremely durable, but they do have their breaking points and their melting points, which is why they're able to be forged and used as weapons in the first place. But sometimes Wolverine's skeleton actually gets in the way of his healing factor. For example, if someone melts down Wolverine's hand or rips him in half like the Incredible Hulk did in the Ultimates universe, the adamantium gets in the way of him completely regrowing his limb, which is why in that universe he actually had to physically climb up the mountain to go back and find his leg. But as we've clearly seen before, this has never been a problem for Deadpool. And a lot of people that aren't really spun up on the comments still think that Deadpool is cursed by Thanos. And I forget when that issue actually came out, but this was the case for a really long time. But however, in the Deadpool v Thanos issue run, he actually ended up removing the curse from Deadpool. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, Deadpool basically had a love affair with Mistress Death. And in the original run for Thanos, Death was his whole reason for doing basically anything that he does. His whole drive for committing these evil acts was just basically to kind of win her favor. And him getting the Infinity Gauntlet in the comic books and killing off half of the universe was his way of showing his ultimate act of love for her. And I'm pretty sure now that's common knowledge just because of the MCU, and that people were pretty much glazing Thanos as a character once they figured out how badass he was. But anyway, in the comic books, Deadpool had a love affair with Mistress Death. And Thanos, being the jealous type, he put a curse on Deadpool to ensure that him and Death can never be together. And later on in 2015's Deadpool v Thanos, this is when the curse was removed. And if you ask me, this was kind of a way of the writers explaining away how OP Deadpool's healing factor is. It was kind of a really fun way of giving him a more interesting backstory behind his powers. But even with that loss, Deadpool still has one of the most insane healing factors in all of Marvel. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Whose healing factor would you rather take, Wolverine's or Deadpool's? And if you haven't already, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell up top so you can get notified of the latest and greatest video. Until next time, y'all, peace.